Welcome to my show where I help you build a career you love. And today I'm going to be talking about how my Ironman training and the lessons that I'm learning from that training can really help you in your career and in your job search. Now, if you don't know this, I wanted to start competing in triathlons. If you don't know what an Ironman is, it is a very long, quite insanely long swim, bike, run combination. And so I decided that I wanted to do these things, and I'm a pretty good runner and a pretty good biker. I'm sure I could be better at everything, but one of the areas that I knew I absolutely needed to be better at was swimming. And while I'm not a god-awful swimmer, and we never say bad things to ourselves about ourselves, as in I'm a developing swimmer, I was smart enough to enlist a coach, Coach Kip, who's a great dude. Maybe he's watching, I don't know, but I got with a coach, and he's going to be my Ironman coach, and I said to him, listen, before we get into all this stuff and stringing this all together, I need some swimming lessons, because I'm a decent swimmer, but this is nothing like swimming in a pool where you got no waves, you got the nice ropes and the painted blue line on the bottom where you can see where you're going and you're in the lane by yourself. When you think about swimming over a couple of miles in the open, wavy water with sun and wind, not to mention all the other nuts that are out there doing this, that are kicking you in the head, not on purpose, but this stuff happens. You got to know where you're going. You got to know how to do this effectively. So I said, let's go, and I want an infusion of some swimming lessons, and I'll do the work. You just teach me. Let's go back to the beginning. So he says, great. So a couple months ago, we met at the pool, and he said, bring your goggles and bring your cap, and I need you to bring a snorkel and some fins, which I did. And it had been a while since I had snorkeled, and it's not like the snorkel that you use when you actually go snorkeling in the ocean, or when you dive, where you get the little the little snorkel out the side of your head. This this is a swimming snorkel, so you can do drills. So you put it in your mouth, and it kind of goes over your head so that you can keep your whole body in the water. And what that does is it helps you get used to being in the proper position without having to worry about things like breathing. And breathing is one of the most difficult things in swimming, because for my whole life, and then of course your whole life, and even if you played sports just like me, I played sports my whole life. I run, I bike, I do those things to this very day. But most of us, we breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth, or maybe we breathe in through our nose and a little through our mouth, and then we breathe out, and we can breathe out through both. In the water, it doesn't work that way. When your head's in the water, you breathe out through your nose and your mouth, and then you turn your head to the side and you breathe in only through your mouth. So it's not a natural breathing pattern that a lot of people understand. So to not worry about that, we start to use the snorkel. So I get in the pool. He says, okay, here's what I want you to do. And I want you to, just glide across, swim the length of the pool and come back, and don't use your arms, and put them at your side, and just get in the right body position. That's all I want you to do. So I get in the pool. I got the snorkel on. I start to go out about, 10, 20 feet. And all of a sudden I take a breath, because that's what I'm so used to doing, right through my nose. And I get all this water up my nose. And if you've ever had water up your nose, you know how painful and uncomfortable it is, not to mention I didn't expect it. So I was startled. So Coach Kip says, okay, Andy, well, you know what, just concentrate, don't breathe in through your nose, keep going, go down the end of the pool, come back. So I get going again, I make it another 20 or 30 feet, and sure enough, I lose concentration, I take another swig full of water right up into my nose, I stop, said a bunch of four-letter words, but I know that I signed up for this. This is something that I invited into my life because I wanted to take a challenge. And as soon as you take a challenge, and as soon as you want to try something, or as soon as you want to be better at something, you are inviting problems and challenges and things you're going to need to overcome. So I kept going. I'm halfway back. I get water up my nose. Finally, Coach Kip, I don't know what was going through his head, but he says, okay, Andy, hold on. Get to the end of the pool. He goes over to the locker. He gets me a nose clip. I was thinking, oh, geez. He says, at least this way we can get through the lesson today. And you put the nose clip on, and you won't have to worry about breathing through your nose, because you won't be able to. And at least then I can teach you what I need to teach you. So I go through the lesson. We finish up. I make it through unscathed, a little bit of a bruised ego, but on I go to my first practice by myself, and I use the nose clip. go back to my second practice. I decide that I don't want to use the nose clip. I've got to figure out a way to overcome this. So I'm going to concentrate really hard, and I'm going to go and I'm going to swim. Without the nose clip, I get halfway down the pool, and all of a sudden I get water up my nose. Same thing, same kind of thing happens. I get back to the other end, and I said to myself, I'm going about this the wrong way. Every time I get water up my nose, I'm completely startled, which makes me stop, which I'm not going to be able to do. So I need to start getting used to the fact that this could happen, and obviously I want to prevent this from happening at all, but the first thing that I need to know is it's going to happen occasionally. It happens to the best swimmers in the world. So I said, I'm going to make water get up my nose on purpose. So I'll swim down the, halfway down the pool length is 25 yards. I'll swim a dozen or 13 yards, and then I will, on purpose, I will take a breath through my nose and get water in it so that I know it's coming, I know it's going to be uncomfortable, and then I'll fix it right away. So I did that. I got water on my nose, and then I just blew it out. And out it went. And I just kept swimming. So you do this a couple times, and then halfway back on the next length of the pool, I did the same thing, but I never stopped, and I blew the water out. And then I went back, and I blew the water out, and I blew the water out, and all of a sudden, after about 3 laps or so, I wasn't getting water up my nose anymore. And why am I telling you this? Because if you think about everything that you've invited in your life, what are you ultimately doing every time that you take on any challenge, right? I want you to do this. I need you to do this to grow. I need you to create obstacles in your life. We're going to talk about the obstacles we've created for you. I maybe put them in front of you, but you put them in front of you for yourself, for your growth. But I want you to create obstacles. That is ultimately what life is all about, right? Taking on new challenges, creating these problems for ourselves. And why do we want to do this? It's the only way to get better. It's the only way to experience it. It's the only way to overcome it. It's the only way to grow. So I want you to think about that whether you are searching for your next job, whether it was your own choice or someone else's, regardless of that case, you've got these obstacles in front of you. You want to grow in your career, you've got these obstacles in front of you. So I want you to think about, how do I create them, identify them, and anticipate them so I can learn from them and grow from them. I want to give you a great example. And by the way, this is kind of a dual thing because I want to give you a mini introduction here to our newest Mile Walk Academy member. Yesterday, we had somebody start with us. You're going to be hearing more and more about her in the upcoming weeks. Her name's Stacy. She's going to be helping me and Kara build out our community. More great things for you guys. More great things on the YouTube channel, more great things in the LinkedIn group, more great things in the Facebook group, and a whole bunch of other places through social media and a number of other things. And as we were talking yesterday about our strategy and the things we were going to do, and she's going to develop this and look at what we do, take a diagnostic, see how we can get better, and all that good stuff. And one of the things I asked her to include in her assessment was, what are all the problems we have now invited into our life on purpose? I mean this in a good way, so that we can get better, so that we can spend more time with them, so that we can service them better, so that we can be more engaged, we can be more helpful, we can be all these things. But every time we want to grow, we're adding problems. Well, if I have to spend more time with you to do that, to better service you, that creates a problem, right? If there are more people and we grow, that actually creates a service problem. It creates a policing problem and all that good stuff. So you get where I'm going with this, right? So think about that. Now, we talked to you a week or two ago. If you didn't see this, I just spent 5 days with you on a challenge for your job search. The job search challenge, maybe you caught it. Hopefully you did. If you didn't, there is a video on my YouTube channel that you can watch. It's not 5 days and 9 hours worth of free coaching, but it is a half an hour in taking you through how I want you to more effectively take on this challenge for your job search. But this is anything. I want you to take more challenges in your life, and I want you to, when you take them, go in that I am looking to fail, because I'm going to hurry up and fail so that I can learn and grow from it. If you embrace the failure and you fail at the right things and you fail more often than everybody else is going to do, You're gonna build better response skills. You're also going to build conditioning skills where you will not care as much about the outcome. Sure, you'll want great things to happen, but it won't hurt you as much as it probably has in the past. I want you to think about this. I was thinking about this as I was prepping this talk, about how everything that we do in our lives is like buying a ticket to a haunted house, right? We're foolish enough to buy these tickets to go to a haunted house where the sole purpose is to get scared, right? We know that something's going to happen, and the first time we walk down the hallway and the boogeyman jumps out of that door, it shocks us, it surprises us, just like when I got water up my nose. But what happens the next time we go through that haunted house? It's not nearly as fun because we know the boogeyman's jumping out that door. So I'm not going to be scared, right? What do? We go buy a ticket to another house, or we want to go on a different day when the setup is different. But I want you to think about that. So let's talk about you. We talked about your job search challenge, and for those of you that didn't go through the challenge with me, there's a number of things that you need to do, but you're going to take on this challenge where you're going to identify 3 companies a day. You're going to identify 3 people at each of those companies, and you're going to send 3 messages out there into the world. You have invited the fact that whether it was thrust on you or not, you've got this challenge. There's obstacles in front of you. Maybe they're your own choosing. Maybe somebody else put you in this position. Regardless, you've got these obstacles. Well, I want you to get in there, right? I want you to send those messages, and what's going to happen? The faster you do that, you know there are going to be problems. I've already told you what the problems are. They're not going to respond to you, right? You need to figure out how to overcome that. They're going to tell you that we're not hiring right now. Thank you for the email anyway, right? They're going to tell you to go put it in the applicant tracking system. Well, you don't hear from them? Follow up 7 days. They tell you we're not hiring right now. I gave you the template for that. Okay, thank you very much, so on and so forth. Can I network? And so on. Hey, put it in the ATS. Great, I will do that. And can you tell me who I need to follow up with? And so forth. You spend a week doing this stuff. In a week, you're going to know all the problems you're already going to encounter, and you're going to have the templated response and the skills to overcome them every single time. Now, you might not know what's coming back from any message that you send, but you sure as heck are going to know how to immediately respond to it. And you're not going to be too scared or startled when it happens, right? It's not like getting water up your nose the first time, right? You might be uncomfortable when somebody says, well, I don't know why you sent this to me. I'm not the right person, right? But you got to get in there, and you got to do it. Here's another thing. All successful people know this. All successful people live this way. They live this way. Each day is your game. Okay, my Ironman event is not my game. The minute I cross it, that's not my game. That's not the end. When you get your job, that's not the end all be all. That's not the game. When you finish that big project at work, that's not the game, right? When you hang up the "we're open" sign on your business, that's not the game, right? The game is lived in each day. It's lived in the practice. So when Coach Kip says you got to swim 1,500 yards this way, my game is to do what he says and do it well and concentrate the whole time, right? When you send an email, I gave you, there's 9 things you got to do in the job search challenge. So it's not just that each day and each practice is a game, but there's a game within a game because each play, each step, each email, everything has its own little game in it. And then there's the improvement from how you observe what you're going through at any moment in time and how that will live with you forever. Forever. Let me tell you about a couple things here. I don't know if you know who Nick Saban is. He is arguably the greatest college football coach of all time. It's not really worth arguing. He's certainly one of the best. And he right now is the coach of Alabama, the university. They were playing New Mexico State, which is not nearly as good a team as Alabama is, earlier this year, probably about maybe 3 months ago or so. It was one of the early games. And I didn't watch the game, but I caught this on the news, on SportsCenter or something like that. And his team was up 62-10. 62-10 by 52 points. There was 8 seconds left in the game. And his team was on defense. And he was on the sidelines screaming at his team, holding up his hand, yelling 5, 5, 5. And he wasn't calling out number 5. He was actually yelling the defensive formation. He wanted them to be in a nickel coverage, and it doesn't matter if you know what that is. The point was they were not in it, and they were not listening to him, and they were not paying attention. So what did he do? He called a timeout. He called a timeout. It's 52. He's got a 52-point lead, 8 seconds. Why? You might think that's nuts. I don't. Because that play in that formation will never be lived again, ever. So he wanted to make sure that they did it right, and he caught it on film. He could use it for educational purposes. He could learn from it. He could teach them or the incoming freshmen next year or whatever it might be. But they were not paying attention. They were not paying attention. So every single thing that you do, every single email that you send, pay attention to what comes back. We're going to talk about more about this in a second. But it's vital. Let me tell you about bubbles. So I don't want you to just think about these things that are uncomfortable to you, a la the job search challenge, where you're trying to reach out to people in hopes of them helping you get your next job. It's a fairly uncomfortable act. But I would argue that it's a skill that if you develop and take the time now while you're repping it like heck, that you will grow your networking skills. So I'm in the pool, right? I'm swimming. I get to the point where I'm not getting water up my nose. I'm making sure that my breathing is better. And while my initial breaths might probably be a little bit more violent than they need to be, I continue to study the best triathlete swimmers and the best Olympic swimmers. And I noticed when I would watch them on film, when I can see them underwater, that I noticed that they had like tiny little bubbles coming out of their nose. So it wasn't a violent push. It was like these tiny little bubbles. And I thought, geez, that looks cool. But you know what? I bet they're not doing that because it looks cool. I bet there's a reason. So I go and I research and I want to find out the reason why they constantly have bubbles coming out of their nose. And the reason that it is because it helps them stay buoyed on the top of the water where there's the least resistance, which makes them go the fastest. Now, that only might add fractions of seconds or a few seconds or whatever, but have you ever seen an Olympic swimming match where the woman touches the wall 1/100th of a second faster than the next woman, and that's the difference between gold and silver and bronze, and a mere second is the difference between not medaling? I'll take that 100th of a second. I'll take that 10th of a second. I'll take that 1 second, 5 seconds, or whatever I can get. This job search challenge that you're going through right now, where you're sending these 3 messages a day, what if when you get your job, you continued to send 1 a week? That's 50 messages a year. What if you made it your goal to send messages each week until you got a response, right? Maybe you got to send 75, maybe 100, right? Think about how you can make every little thing that you do a super skill, right? It doesn't have to be a detriment. So think about that. Think about that. You'll build the response skills, you build the lifelong skills, and all that good stuff. And the other thing that I want you to think about is each little failure along the way matters, and some failures matter more than others. I got done saying a few minutes ago that I want you to fail at the right things, and I want you to fail more often. Right? What's the right and wrong things? As you go through your job search challenge, what did I tell you you don't get any points for? You don't get any points for putting your resume into an applicant tracking system unless you were instructed to do so. So let's think about this. I think sending messages, targeted emails to people is a great way to get your next job. Statistically, it's proven better. Everybody is getting a better skill who's doing this and has this infusion of emails going out. And they're getting better at it, they're getting more comfortable at it, and they're getting more traction. And I have stats that prove that that's a better route to go. Now, they're developing a skill if they're taking the time to be conscious of it. And that's a path of high resistance and high reward. What about the applicant tracking system? You can sit in the comfort of your own home and you can put, while it's a little tedious to put your resume information and your cover letter and your name and all that good stuff into an applicant tracking system, it's really not that resistant, right? It's low level of resistance, which is why there is a low level of success rate and a low level of reward in it. That's what I'm talking about. And there are a lot of you that are out there, and I want you to go easy on yourself. If you're feeling beaten up because you've been failing at putting your resume in the applicant tracking system, and I'm telling you, that's not even failing. That's almost complete indifference because your resume is not getting seen. I would rather you be engaging with people. It's going to take you further if you fail at the right things. Every day is your game. Every day, every email, every step you take, everything you do. Okay? And here's the last thing I want to cover with you. I'm giving you permission. I want to make you aware, but I want to let you know it's okay because I know a lot of you are afraid to do this. But I need you to be willing to get hurt and learn from it. Okay? It's about putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, and I'm telling you that you do this and great reward comes. Yes, I understand that sending an email to somebody who rejects you doesn't feel good. It's an unpleasant act. But I would posit that you are not actually personally being rejected. You can interpret it that way if you'd like, but I would rather you say, I'm just experiencing a feeling of disappointment. It's going to be fleeting, but I'm recognizing that I put myself out there. I made myself vulnerable. I knew this was a possibility. Now it's my job to learn from it, grow from it, and overcome it. And I guarantee that you will overcome it. I guarantee you go in with that mentality, you're not just going to get over it, you're going to thrive from it. And I also think that the only way for you to do that is actually to take a step back, recognize and reflect and be conscious of it. You've got to be conscious of it, that's what you did, because when you're conscious of it, you can step back, you can actually see what happens, you can record what happens, you can look at it and analyze, and you can learn from it and grow from it instead of shrinking from it. And if you go into all these endeavors that you're going to undertake, whether it's your job search, your career development, opening up a business, whatever it is that you're going to do, write a book, whatever it is you're going to try, shoot a video, if you have that mindset where I am going to create the challenge, I am going to identify and anticipate the problems, I'm going to prep to overcome them in a positive way, not a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of way, and I will learn from it and grow from it. I guarantee you that's what will happen, just like when I got water on my nose. All right? So I hope that serves you. I wanted to share that story with you. I thought about this a couple months ago. I knew there was a lesson in it, and I'm finally getting around to giving it to you. So I hope that helps you.